brought in a Tropic Force. Tropic Force.
Fantastic.
Was that or whiskey? I just didn't have time for whiskey.
Fair enough. Now I have to go through the long and arduous process of going live on. Fantastic.
Was that or whiskey? Yeah, I know. It's a process.
Yeah, this is the problem. Everything else, you just.
Do you have
hit
multiple
go live.
RTMP plugin set up?
I have mine set up through Nginx, so I stream to a server, and then it handles everything. And we are
cool.
live.
Okay, hey, you know what? Respect.
We are live on YouTube, Twitch, and X. Welcome, everyone. This is a live recording of the Nate Hates Boring People podcast. Most of you don't even know what that is because I haven't done it in about 1,000 years. But I've got for you today the Primeagen. None other than, I mean, he speaks for himself. I mean, CEO of HTMX, presenter at the Streamer Awards.
Yeah.
NeoVim guy. I mean, Primeagen. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Nate.
That's fantastic. So the podcast, the way it works is I ask you some serious questions for the first half. Second half, we relax a little bit, have a little fun. Not much to it.
I'm in.
So the first thing I always do for all my guests is ask one question: who are you?
That's a shockingly difficult question. I believe that is part of the intro. It's almost, in a sense, part of the intro to Hamlet and the outro to Hamlet. Who's there? Who's in the dark, right? You're searching around. You're feeling for who you are, yourself. Who am I? I'd say that the most important facet of my life is that, I guess I kind of got to put it in hierarchy. I'm not God, country, family American, but, I probably swap country and family around, if that makes sense. For me, my life was a terrible, terrible mess. I've said this many times. Methamphetamines. I had a severe porn addiction, was exposed to it when I was 4 years old. I don't know if you were going for this intensive question, but we're going
don't worry.
on.
We'll get to it eventually.
Yeah. I was smoking pot at age 8. I was into things that were not good for you. So I did a lot of that at way too young when, I had all the dopamine problems that a young kid could have. And through all that time, then had a very real experience with God, changed my life around, decided to actually start trying at school. Became very good at school, turns out I actually really had the ability to be good at school. And then I met my beautiful wife. Back then, she was just beautiful girlfriend, which even before that, she was just beautiful person who beat me at Wii Tennis. And, hit it off with her and eventually got married, had many kids. So we're up to 4 at this point, which is a huge amount. And yeah, so who am I? I guess it's hard to say who I am, but I can tell you what I live for, which at this current moment, in this current juncture, is to see my kids and to be with my wife.
That is amazing. So often today you see people who are so cynical, who hate everything. It's just refreshing to talk to someone who is just happy and is living for something greater than himself,
Yeah. It's and honestly, it brings a lot of peace when you don't, the only peace I don't have is that if I couldn't provide for them, right? And so my only drive is to try to drive for somebody. And there's something that's, I think, a lot of peace to that, because I don't have to I myself am less in the equation, which makes life just a lot easier. Real talk. It just makes life easier when you're not the main character in your own story.
Absolutely.
I'm like a side story.
Of course.
I'm a side quest.
So then the next question, and I swear we only have 4 questions here. But the last one is really fun. The next question is, what do you do?
There's a lot of things I do. Setting aside husband and father, just because those are activities unto themselves in which I'm aggressive to make a time for, and I'm very particular about it. I get up extra early just so I can be off by 4, so I can be able to participate in all my kids' lives and all that. And then after getting my kids down, I try to spend at least about 1 hour to an hour and a half with my wife. So, very aggressive in that kind of side for my time. But who am I as far as technically or professionally, which I think is probably a more interesting question for a lot of people. I'm just somebody who really enjoys the process of solving problems and learning and expanding what I know. I find it deeply interesting to learn like the origins of words to how to program something more efficiently or nicer. There's honestly there's no better feeling for me than understanding a new way to solve a problem. Like that for me is just like that's like the coolest experience in the universe. I can still recall the first time I learned about a linked list and just that feeling sitting in class watching it like happen before my eyes and realizing I can like reference myself in a class and I can like it can keep going forever in memory and just keep like that I don't know how to explain it other than it was like a truly magical moment. And so that's me like in that kind of sense is that I man, I was talking to someone earlier. Never mind. It's too arcane of a story. Too arcane of a story. We're gonna leave that. We're gonna leave that out of here.
Hold on.
But
Is there a
you know,
keyword I can ask about later?
no, it's just
Fair enough.
entirely too arcane. It's entirely too arcane. But I'm just a man that's driven by strategy. Okay, so here's the story. Since I assume we have the time for the stories, one of my, I would consider the height of my strategic thinking is that during college we played capture the flag or kick the can. Sorry, we played kick the can, and so it's a bunch of us adults trying to play kick the can. Who could actually kick the can the best? And so I was like, all right, I got an idea. So first we played in the dorms. You had to go like the can was one floor up and you had to make it into there. And so we were thinking, how do we actually do this? Because the hallways are thin. It's so easy to get tagged. There's one person upstairs and there's three of us down. So how are we gonna do this? And I'm like, all right, I got this idea. We're gonna go like this. We're gonna all go like this and set a tempo. And in 10 taps, we're going to come out of the doors all at the same time and run straight for the can. There's only one person. He can't possibly defend that can well enough to be, to get around this. And so lo and behold, boom, we kick the can. People start seeing us and they start joining us. Soon we have about 40 people playing. And so we did 3 people guard the can and 37 against the can, or some grand number like that, right? There was a huge number of us. And there was a few different tries, and it just no one could kick the can, because now we're adults. We're fast. We're smart, right? And so I said, okay, I got an idea. Come here. Everybody come here. I'm like, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to form a line. No one's going to be sneaky. We're going to scream and run straight at the can, all in a line. And what we're going to do is that right when we get to the can, right before you get touched, the first person go right, next person go left, next person go right, next person go left. And we're going to do that all the way to the last person. And whoever is the last person will walk in and simply kick the can. And you know what? He didn't even run. He walked up to the can and kicked it. Just because it was like it's exactly what strategy is, which is being able to push people around. It was just so much fun. So I always think back to those times of like, how do you manipulate stuff? And like, that's just what I love. Strategy. It's so much fun. Anyway, sorry. I just got so dorked out about that.
No worries. Oh man, that's good. So the third question is, it's what's your thing? What's up with you?
My thing? Oh man. I think my thing is to be happy. To be happy with what I do, to find joy even in the things that are inconvenient. I'm in terribly inconvenient season with my job. Terribly. I actually I'm on to like hour 4 trying to figure out why sharp 0.033.7 that version does not npm install in Docker. Yet I can npm install it right outside of Docker. I cannot curl GitHub from within Docker right now. I have no idea why that's happening, but it's only GitHub. It's nowhere else. For whatever reason, things aren't working and I cannot figure it out. And this is just driving me nuts right now. And so it's like just terribly tedious work going on. And I'm sure there's a very simple answer to that. I'm sure it's some stupid networking thing that I forgot to do or whatever, right? Like besides the point, I'm passing through VPNs and all that crap. And like for me, it's just like my thing is that I could look at that and I could take offense. I could be upset that I have to work on such like just annoying problems. Or B, I could take joy in the fact that I get to work on these problems and figure out ways through and become a better debugger, a better person at this kind of stuff. And so I feel like that's my thing. And especially lately, it's just grown and grown in that, which is to always take joy and pride in the things you do. It's one reason why I have excellent handwriting, and I have excellent handwriting because I want to be good at the things I do. I don't want to be mediocre. Time is important, but time is not the only thing. Like it's okay to slow down and do it right as opposed to get it done and move on.
Yeah, certainly. So the last question, this one's going to take forever. How did you get to where you are, starting at conception?
I love the question. Conception. A very funny story about that. My mom walked into the hospital and she made it to the hospital bed at 1 a.m. in the morning, and I was born at 1:16 in the morning.
That's really fast.
She said that if she could have kids like me, she would have 12 of them. I didn't really cry. I kept cooing in my sleep to the point where they moved me outside of their room because I was just that dang annoying. Um, I That's kind of like my start. I was a middle child, which means I got beat up by my brother and annoyed by my little sister. So I just learned to be okay and go with the flow of everything, or else I'm going to make one side angry, right? Isn't that all middle kids' dilemma, which is that you just end up becoming the peacemaker? And so that was my life. That's how I lived it. That's how I grew up. And right around 1993, 1994, I started really getting into our Windows 3.1. I learned how to install Doom, I think by second grade on stuff, and I'd play the crap out of Doom. Absolutely loved it. I even had the Thy Flesh Consumed expansion with the 4th episode of Doom 1. Absolutely awesome. Just loved it. And then that's when I started learning more and more about computers. And so I always had like a general affinity, right? I knew how to like launch up Windows 3.1 and play Mahjong Tile or Freeski or whatever. That was my life. And then fast forward a few years later, there's this game called Grawl. And gaming was really important to me. It's one of the few things, if it's one of the two things my dad left me, was that. A funny story actually about my dad passing away. About 6 months before my dad passed away, God came to my mom in a dream and said, or showed her this episode, which was she walked into our house and me and my two siblings had our heads kind of exposed, and my dad was standing there with an axe. And then a tornado came, and we all ran downstairs into this like cellar, but my dad wasn't there. And then the house was completely destroyed. And then a voice just said, "From here, you're going to rebuild." And then she woke up and she's like, I don't really know what that means. Shortly afterwards, my dad dies. And so she's like, this is the thing. He's going to injure all the kids because they're too young to understand it. And I'm going to have to rebuild our house from here. That's like kind of how she took it. And then right afterwards, funny enough, my dad actually, or another revisitation, about one day afterwards, my dad appeared in a dream to her and said, check these bank accounts. Something's very, very wrong. She went and checked, and it turns out his best friend stole $25,000. So we started off at the lowest possible point of $0 as opposed to some amount of money. So that was kind of a rough beginning to things. And so my dad kind of left me with this love of video games, right? That's one thing he did. He'd hold my hands as we played. Absolutely really enjoyed that. And there's even an image of me, playing the Game Boy, and he had my fingers and would, play along with me. Absolutely loved gaming. Gaming was like my whole life. And then I started playing this game called Grawl or Grail. I called it Grail. I didn't know how to, do it. It's Graal. I think Lord Talks on Twitch was actually the creator of it. I want to say it was Lord Talks. I may be wrong here. But someone on Twitch streams software and game development and was the one who created Grail. And that's like how I got into programming. In it, there's like this level editor, and you could click on any of the items, any of the NPCs, and it presented like a C-like scripting language. It was very terrible, but I didn't know what terrible was, so I thought it was fantastic, right? And so that's how I kind of got started. I could do while loops, and I could do X equals this or if statements, and that's all I knew how to do, just that. And that's how I'd kind of create these NPCs. Absolutely thought it was just the coolest thing in the universe. And so fast forward, in high school, took a programming class. It was in QBasic. It was pretty fun. Had a good time doing it. And so when I went to college, which ultimately I kind of just went on a whim, when I went, I tried to study computer science because I'm like, I'm into computers, so I'll do computer science because that's what I know. And after many failings out of colleges and doing terrible and all that stuff, then I came to be into it, and I started doing really, really well. In fact, I did so well that at one point I think I got multiple like 150 plus percents because I was the only person who got everything right and nobody else got anything even close. They got like 40% was the next highest grade. I do a little bit of bragging here.
So you
In
killed
for
the
calculus,
curve. All your
I literally set every curve I was
so
in.
you're just the most
Uh,
hated guy in class.
Hated me for what's it called? What was it? Calculus 1. I finished the final in 30 minutes and got the highest grade. The next time finished was an hour and 30 minutes. Calculus 2, same thing. Differential equations. I was the only person out of 400 to even finish the final and got the highest grade. Felt good. Just destroying everybody out those classes. Just absolutely loved it. Right? I had no idea I was even like that good at math, and then it turns out I was really good at math. The whole argument on Twitter whether someone has talent or not. I had a natural born talent for math. I just never actually applied it until then. Then I had to work super hard, but then I was really good at it at the same time. So it was like fantastic. Absolutely love doing those things. And that's kind of like how I got to where I was. Really, today is just the stemming from those times. I really look back as calculus as this time that I was willing to sit down and practice something that was tedious and difficult for like 4 hours straight. Really, that's where I got the backbone to do the hard stuff today is from those times. And so everything else is just really a by accident, I would say. And so, I got out of, as I was rounding out of college, my professor, Hunter Lloyd, shout out Hunter Lloyd, awesome professor at MSU, absolutely think he's one of the best. He gave me an internship with his robotic company. So I got to stay in Bozeman for a while. And then from there, I was able to get a job at a place called Schedulicity. And from there, I got a job by just working at Schedulicity, running into somebody else who had a tech company next door, got 50% more pay, and went and worked for Web Filings. From Web Filings, I went to a conference on some sort of web technologies where I met a guy named Paul Taylor who was really into RxJS. So I got into RxJS. Funny story, hate RxJS now, but nonetheless, RxJS was totally into it. And because I really do assume that because I had RxJS as one of my skills on LinkedIn, my manager interviewed me because it was such an important part of the Netflix time. Like during that time, it's super important that they hired people that knew RxJS because we had so much of our application wrapped up in the RxJS. And so there we go. Like that's kind of how I got all the way to this point. And as far as streaming goes, I only accidentally got into streaming. This wasn't some like grand plan or like, oh man, I'm go. I had a friend named some coding guy. You may have seen him on Twitch. Some coding guy, good guy. He just said, hey, I'm going to do Extra Life. Do you want to do Extra Life? And so in June 2018, I turned on my stream and said, I'm going to get affiliated. So whatever someone subs to me, I'll just pay to Extra Life. So anyone with Twitch Prime, I'll give $5 to Extra Life. And that's that. And so I started streaming June 2018, had a great time, played Fortnite all 24 hours, and then kept playing for 25 and a half hours, just absolutely loving it until they actually had to forcibly kick me out of Netflix. The Netflix charity event ended with me getting kicked out. So I was like, all right, and I'm going to keep doing that. And then it turns out when I turned on coding, I just tried coding, streaming one day. Like, no one's going to watch, but why the heck not, right? Like, I'm not fantastic at video games. I'm not anything special at video games. And it turns out I am fairly special at using Vim. I'm pretty dang quick. And so people were like, wow, you're super fast at Vim. And I was like, I'm super fast at Vim. They're like, you're super fast at Vim. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of neat. And so it just worked out during that time. That's all tech, science and tech was chickens, earthquakes, and people who use Vim. And I just happened to be the fastest one. There's also Pirate Software during those times. So that's like the days of Lana Lux was the leader of our category at 50 concurrent viewers. She was cream of the crop, pushing up like one. I remember when she was getting into the 70s, I was like, dang, that's like a legit streamer. And then she got like the check mark, and I'm like, that's so sweet. And I was like, how am I ever gonna do that?
That's funny looking back at it.
Yeah. Now it's completely different.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
TJ, relatively new, is getting like 500 viewers. It's like crazy. It's crazy what's going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a total idiot, and I have. Let's not worry about my viewer counts. Anyway.
Hey, viewers.
I told them the Primeagen was on. I don't know where's my thousands of viewers. No, I'm playing.
I have an event going in my Discord, so people will at least see that there is uh, that it's happening in the
I
Discord.
appreciate that.
Hey, no problem.
Anyway, so I see you. So I don't
We've
know. See
gone through
now
your
I'm
4 questions. Were you
yeah now I'm
prepared for me to?
flustered. Well, here's the thing. I I've seen your other videos. I know at some point you've lost your way during that journey. It wasn't exactly as linear as you laid it out there, and I don't know exactly how much I should ask for the whole story.
Yeah, hit me whatever you want to hit me. I'm not afraid of your questions, Nate. You're a good guy.
Well, fair enough.
You can't offend me.
So, what was up with the meth?
Oh, the meth. Oh, yeah. So when I was 18, tried to commit suicide, and afterwards, when I didn't successfully, I successfully erred. When I got to that point, I decided that F it. I'm just gonna live a different life now. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not living whatever life I was living. I now don't give a. I don't give a damn. And so I went into everything just like don't care. So immediately got straight into LSD and all that, smoked meth, and then the whole summer I smoked a lot of meth during that summer, and all that. And that's like during like literally a day before college started. I just probably on a methed out experience just applied for MSU because I could feel like I needed something different. I didn't know what the different was, but I knew I needed something different, and they just accepted me. So I like literally drove up to go there. And so that's why I failed out of college. I said I kind of had some troubles. Yeah. So I had 2 semesters of failing out. The first semester, I failed out because I did too much drugs and I knew I had to be done. The second semester, I failed out because I chose to. I chose to because I knew for a fact that the direction I was going was not the direction I needed. And I was willing to eat crow and go work at Sears and pay back my debt and do all of that. I have pretty bad ADHD, and it really shows when there's TVs around, and like that's really like my big weakness. And I sold televisions with a perpetually running screen next to me, hundreds of them, it felt like, while being just crippled ADHD. And I managed to get like second to top seller at that point. I wasn't the top because the person that was the top, he eventually got fired, then I became the top. But nonetheless, it was just like, it was so difficult. Because like I had to like stay focused and try to talk to somebody and not look at the screen. Like I had to like really, like even though it's the same thing playing over and over again, it was like some weird form of, uh, some weird form of torture, right? It was like purgatory for me. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it was awful. But yeah, there you go. That's like the more detailed version of that part of my life.
That makes sense.
I
Was
don't
there?
really, like
Oh,
at
sorry.
some point, I guess you could say that that's kind of what makes me. I'm not. I don't know if that's what makes me. I think the more honestly, I think the more impactful part of that was the exposure to porn when I was 4. I honestly think that's been a much harder thing to get over than the meth thing. Like the meth thing was hard, but I also got to get over it by leaving and being somewhere else.
Yeah, that makes
Whereas
sense.
like
You
porn
can't.
is ubiquitous and easy to access everywhere.
Yeah, I was about to
And so
say you
that's like
can't be scrolling through Twitter and accidentally be smoking meth.
yeah, exactly. You can't just accidentally get a loker thrown in your mouth and huffing meth. Whereas it's very easy to get like pussy and bio. Pussy and bio. It happens constantly. And so that's like a real thing. And so
Certainly. So did you have some sort of like come to Jesus moment about everything, or was it just it got old and you realized you had to move on to
no.
more?
I had a come to Jesus moment. Yeah, I just had a really dark night, a dark night of the soul, as they say. And after that, I just said like, God, if you're real, change my life. And so the next day I woke up and my life was not changed at all. It was like the worst sell of my lifetime. I thought it would, I thought it was gonna be a bit like magic would happen or something like that. It's
You're
just so
expecting
much
you'd wake
bullshit.
up, you were inexplicably wearing white robes.
And
Your
like
hair
life
was
would be
cut.
great. I no longer had any problems. Ugh.
Yeah.
It was not like that.
Mhm.
Instead, I woke up, had all the same addictions. The only difference, though, right? I'm 19. Remember, like this is day one. I had no idea about any of this stuff. I didn't grow up this way. And all of a sudden, I go and I watch porn, and then afterwards, I felt horribly guilty. I've never had that feeling in my life. I'm like, what the hell is happening to me? And it's just like, my life did get changed from that moment. But instead, I just feel like shit when I do things. And I'm like, how did this happen? I felt like it was the greatest bamboozling of my lifetime because there's all these stories of people that are like, my life was changed overnight. And I was like, my life got shitty overnight. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely hate it all of a sudden. And
So
now it's just like I could still do all the same things I used to do. I just felt horrible about doing things.
so let me get this
I have
straight.
no idea how that happened or where it came from.
So it wasn't failing out of school. It wasn't hitting rock bottom, having that awful night. It was post nut clarity that turned you into the man you are today.
Well, it was the Dark Knight because I
Oh, fair
asked for my
enough.
life to be changed. Like genies, how genies, they grant you your wish. It's just not the wish you asked
Yeah.
for.
So it's
Yeah, I
yeah.
had that. I had the wish I did not ask for, which was my life changed. But it was not the way I was hoping. I was just hoping for me to be like, oh, I'm done looking at porn and my life is great. Now I can be a totally normal, contributing member of society.
So it's just like a switch flipped, and shame was permanently activated when you were doing
It
bad
was
stuff.
so bad.
Oh
And I
man.
couldn't, it was crippling. And I was just like, what is this? I hate this. Like, this is the worst experience of my lifetime. What is this guilt business? I had no guilt before that, right? I've never even experienced guilt. I didn't even know what it was.
Interesting. So do you follow a particular faith or
Yeah, I follow Christianity. Yeah, because
anything
that
more
was my
specific?
experience.
Just various non-denominational evangelical sort of Christianity? Talking
Yeah,
Baptist?
I don't concern myself too hard with a lot of the things because there's a lot of people that argue about a lot of stuff.
Certainly.
My only goal is that I had someone describe it to me is that like you pretend like you're walking like left foot is I go love God love people love God love people and that's it. Like I just want to help people.
Interesting. Read the book, know what it says, love God, love people.
Yeah,
It's very good. I
I'm pretty
wish
good at the Old Testament surprisingly.
oh,
Like if you gave me a quick quiz, I'd be able to
Ecclesiastes
tell you
1
anything about
9.
it. No, it's not like that. Not like that kind of knowledge. I know about Ecclesiastes. I could tell you about it, but I can't tell you like a direct verse,
Love
right? Like I can tell you
Ecclesiastes.
Ahithophel was the greatest counselor to Absalom, the king that usurped David, and he was defeated by Hushai the Archite, who defended and got David back to his throne, right? Like I can tell you like these dumb facts that just don't even matter, but I can.
So I'm having this internal moment where I'm thinking, do I get Prime to just do Bible stories for the rest of the stream?
So what happened was when I was done smoking meth, I couldn't sleep. It ruined my sleep.
Uh-huh.
So there's this guy named Alexander Scorby, which is like an amazing reader. He could read so well. And so I'd listen to the Old Testament and try to fall asleep because there's just a bunch of stories. My mom just had them. She had just a box full of tapes in the basement. So I was like, I need something. Because TV does not work, right? I'm not falling asleep to TV. So I just needed something. So I was like, anything to help me sleep. And so I just started listening to that. So I have a very shallow but lengthy understanding of a lot of the stories.
Oh,
Like
sure.
I don't have any, like I'm not a theology person. People use all these big terms and I'm like, I don't know what these things mean, you know?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and so much of what people get wrong in religion and Christianity today is getting too caught up on all of the specifics. And, I've heard stories of churches tearing themselves apart because a mural that they made out in the foyer drew Adam and Eve with belly buttons. And churches have split over stuff like this.
And so, you can't help stupid.
It's
Stupid
just,
exists and there's nothing you can do
yeah,
about it.
exactly.
There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, I feel bad. I mostly just feel bad for people that get so wrapped up in stuff in that kind of
Certainly.
sense because it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. You know what really matters? There's this song that I heard not too long ago, or I heard like 10, 15 years ago, and this band that apparently was like a popular band in the 90s for Christians. And I didn't know any about this. It was called Audio Adrenaline, and the song was called the Houseplant Song. And it's about this guy who heard that heavy metal is bad for your soul, and you can tell by letting houseplants listen to heavy metal. And so he started playing heavy metal, and then his neighbor comes over and is like, "What the hell are you doing, man? You're waking up everybody. Why are you playing heavy metal?" And he's like, "Look, it says right here that heavy metal is bad for your soul. That you're gonna burn." And he's just like, you could do that, or we could just like hang out and be friends. And so the moral of the story is that, it's way better than all these dumb things that people said during the 90s is like, go be good to your neighbor. Go be a nice person to people and like try to like learn who they are. And so I was like, oh yeah, that's a fantastic 90s moral. Like we don't have a lot of that's called Christendom, by the way.
Mhm.
Like you used to watch shows like Saved by the Bell. Jessie one time started taking too many amphetamines to study for her test. But what we learned is taking amphetamines to study is not what good girls do. So they called that Christendom, right? Like try to teach a moral through a story.
Mhm.
And like that's completely gone in our day. You don't get Christendom anymore. But like that was one of the last ones. And I remember hearing that song being like, that's a good point. Why don't I know the people around me? Like, why am I not interacting with that kind of stuff? Like, how come I don't do that? Because that's probably the better way to live anyways.
Turns out the real Christianity was the friends we made along the way.
It was just the neighbors you learned along the way. Who would have guessed?
Certainly. So you mentioned that you met your wife because she beat you at Wii tennis.
Yeah, she did.
I'm
That's
sorry.
the
I
end of
don't. I
that
don't want to
story.
make
She beat
you.
me the
I don't
first
want to
time.
make you
I
relive one of your
I
greatest
absolutely
defeats.
murdered her afterwards.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. She beat me. She beat me the first time, and then I just assumed she wasn't good. It's just real talk. I just didn't think she was going to be good at all. She turns out she could play a little bit, so she beat me the first time. So afterwards, I came into that second game really ready to kick some ass, and she was not ready. So I did like absolutely stomp her.
You activated the slight forward lean.
Yeah, I really got into it, and so that was not what she was expecting. She thought everything was fun and la 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 la, and it turns out I just absolutely just wrecked her.
So how do you go from you? I assume standing over her, whimpering body, screaming, "Oh no!" and you saying, "Yes, I win. I'm the best." How do you go from that to 4 kids? What's the secret to the prime riz?
The prime riz, well, there's a couple of good secrets to the prime riz. Number one, have you ever done any public speaking?
A little bit.
This doesn't count as public speaking. There's no one in front of you, right? You're in the comfort of your own home. Anyone that's existing currently on your Twitch channel, you don't see them, you don't experience their eyes, right? There are numbers on the screen. Sorry, Twitch. I'm not trying to dunk on you, Twitch.
I did a little stand-up comedy and stuff. That's how I know how to get in front of people and make a fool of myself. Not very good at it, That's not a requirement.
Okay, good. So you get like the general idea. The reason why that's important is that when you walk up and you do something in front of people, there's like all these feelings that you feel, but you have to ignore them, and you just have to believe in your voice and like project it out like you're going to be talking normally, right? It doesn't matter how you feel internally. You have to like put up a facade. And then all of a sudden how you feel internally versus your facade become like one to one. All of a sudden your facade is how you feel. And so when you want to strike the ladies with the Riz, as they say, and not get a Riz straining order, you just have to, like really, I came to her and I just talked confidently. Like, didn't matter how I felt, I knew how I needed the sound. And so I was just, that's really how I rizzed her up, which is also, and something that she talks back about is that she is in a relationship before me, and it was all about like, there's so much concern about looks and presentation and all this kind of stuff. And I'm over there in like a white V-neck and basketball shorts for like 6 days in a row. And she's like, what is up with this guy? Like, I didn't care about other people's opinions. And so like living a life where you're not just like so struggling under what other people think, I think is very, it's a very attractive quality, right? And I think people naturally gravitate towards people that can be their own person without telling everyone that they're their own person, right? The guy that gets a face tattoo and then is upset when everyone looks at his face tattoo. It's just like, yo, dog, you got a face tattoo. That's your fault. Like, I didn't put the face tattoo on you. You're the one asking for people to look at it and then getting upset about it. Instead, it's like you got to be you without needing other people to know you're you.
Certainly. Just live your life. Be the right guy.
Just live your life.
Okay.
Yeah. You're who you are.
That's good stuff. Let's see. We got about 20 minutes left. I think it might be time to see if anyone in the chat has any questions for you, anything they'd like to know, because I've been ignoring chat this entire time.
Well, you shouldn't ignore chat. Chat's good people.
Yeah, I mean, some of them.
I mean, I personally wouldn't have ignored them myself, but I mean, you can do whatever you got to do. I was just saying.
Well, it appears that Marcello FBRZ is asking me what you would tattoo on your face. I think he wants me to ask you what you would tattoo on your face.
No tattoos. And by the way, why do you have the Windows 90 something background?
I'll tell you why. It is a very cheap way to get people to click on my stream, and it works better than you would expect.
Am I really that red? Am I coming across that red? I actually am a little bit warm right now. I am like hot. I'm wearing a dude. Look at this. Look at this for a second. I got like a long sleeve on and all that crap. I got so look at that. I got my HTMX CEO hoodie on.
Don't
Okay.
please. I'm CEO of HTMX. You're CEO of HTMX. You
You know what
know,
the only difference between me and you is
you have
that
the
you
hoodie.
bought an HTMX hoodie. HTMX sent me the hoodie, and I was the test
Ah,
subject. Okay, that's the difference.
you know
Is
what?
that I am the CEO of HTMX.
See, you're just lucky I haven't gotten my Zed sweatshirt yet, because the Zed boys are sending me a sweatshirt for my amazing work and telling everybody about Zed.
Okay, okay. I'm not gonna dunk on you, so we can move on. We can
Let's
move
see.
on. There we go. Oh, sorry. I had to. Just had to stretch a little bit. Not a big deal.
All right, so looks like the chat is just explaining that they are in fact degenerates and not good people. This
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
they're
No, no.
saying.
I have a general rule of thumb, which is no one's a good person.
All right, cooperator says that he just wants you to know that his respect for you doubled when you mentioned Dark Knight of the Soul.
Thank you. I've been trying to, so something that's been really important to me is I've actually started to try to learn more about the great poets. And so someone with whom my next great poem I'm going to read. So I just got done with the Rhyme of the Mariner, and very, it's like a very colorful and amazing story. I kind of want to like get back and reread it and try to read some commentary on it because it's like extremely beautiful, and it's very hard to understand at the exact same time just because it's so like there's so many words and ways they use words 300 years ago that are hard to understand today. And but it's like a really cool story. Yeah, hoodie's off. Okay, I had to take hoodie off. It's hot where I'm at. I do have a little mini split. Let me turn that on, baby. You got to have a little bit of mini split here. Woof. Um. Anyway, so yeah, so the next one is Paradise Lost. Milton. I'm gonna go through that one. I want to learn more about it because the man who wrote The Ancient Mariner, he was said Coleridge was his name, the last man who knew everything. He was there was actually a time period. Like think about this for a second. There was a time period that if you went to school for 20 years, you could learn all of math, all of physics, all of any like they had a very light chemistry understanding, if any, during that time. You could
It was
learn
alchemy
everything
back
about the
then.
stars. Yeah, it was alchemy. You could actually learn everything that there is to know. And so they often say the last man who truly knew everything was Coleridge. I forget Coleridge's first name. Anyways, so Coleridge, he was said that he could talk from dusk till dawn, or from dawn till dusk, which is a reference to Milton's Paradise Lost, in which as Satan fell from heaven to hell, he fell from dusk till noon, from noon till twilight, or however they say it. And it was like the exact same verbiage as how Coleridge could talk.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I just like I want to get more into that. You know what I mean?
All right. Jordy LaForge asks, did you find your wife pre or post learning Linux?
Oh, pre-learning Linux. In fact, when I met my
Oh,
wife
it's
and started
over.
dating her,
It's
I
over
know,
for all of
so
us.
Arch boys, it's
Oh
over. You gotta go
no.
into Arch
Oh.
pre-married. Like it's just a requirement because it ain't happening afterwards.
Man. Wow.
But funny story. When I married or when I started dating my wife, I thought Vim was for neckbeards, and only people that are tryhards used Vim. I know, shocking. I'm willing to be wrong.
It's insane. The most normal people I know use Vim. And by normal, I mean, well, maybe that's not helping your point. Anyway.
We are a niche in a niche, my friend. There's nothing normal about any of us. Okay, like that's the thing is anyone that when you meet the computer scientists that like try to act like they're totally cool, normal people, and you're like, yo, bro, like, hate to tell you this, but you're not normal. Like,
Meet him.
you're
He's
not
me.
normal. Yeah.
I'm a
You
normal
are
guy.
willingly and enjoying sitting in front of a computer for 12 straight hours. There's nothing normal about that.
And the
Like,
problem
I
is when
hate
you
to tell you this, but it's a bit acoustic in here. We're all struggling.
and the worst part is when you try as a computer person to get out and about, and you just come up with new and fun ways of bringing your laptop computer on walks, and then you're just even more of a weirdo.
Yeah. Nothing is worse than the person walking and attempting to type. It's like, Give up the Ghost, man. Don't get Apple Vision Pro. It's not going to be worth it. You're going to look like a dummy.
You have
Just
no idea the amount of years I've thought about trying to figure out a way to walk and type. Because I'm thinking, right, if I get a one-handed keyboard, I could hold it up with one hand and type. I can get one. There's a keyboard where you put your hand in straps and you can type while you're walking like that.
I like that.
The
I like that
BlackBerry
idea.
doesn't
You could literally wrap it on your hand.
exactly, and then you just
Just no matter where you went. That's actually such a fun idea. I would like to do that. I mean, I have a Kinesis keyboard right here. I could get this little wrapper in between long enough, and I think I could. I think we could do it. I
You ever
think
see
a little bit of Velcro.
you ever see Ben Valek on YouTube?
No,
I
maybe.
will link him to you.
That name sounds familiar. He's
Ben
a keyboard
Valek.
guy, right?
Yes.
He does the whole
He
like
makes his
art
own
of the typing and
keyboards,
everything.
and he
Yeah,
has his keyboards with like
I've
7
seen one
keys.
of his videos.
Well, on one of them,
Yes, I've seen one of his videos.
Yeah.
I reacted to one of his videos like a year ago.
Well, he velcros or velcros or rubber bands or something. He puts the keyboard on his pants so he can stand up and type on his legs and like walk around and just keep typing. Now I think he's gone a little too deep,
Man's man.
but also
I'm just telling you.
Someone's got to be the first to do it.
I'd say that's shallow end. The man. Someone has to be the first one. He's normalizing it. Someone asked me what's my most influential book. That's not the Bible. The most influential book of my lifetime. I think that's really, really hard to say what is my most influential book. I think during different time periods, different books were very, very influential. One of my most favorite ones was The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. I loved this idea of what do your actions look like if you span it out over the idea of eternity. I thought that was just really neat. I liked that whole concept of like, someone who grumbled became nothing but a grumble. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was cool.
Now I'm like kind of internally freaking out after thinking about that for a second.
I know. Like, what do you look like? It's my rights. Like this one guy chose. He would rather choose to be in hell to keep his rights than to give up his rights. And because he was upset that he worked at a construction company and someone got murdered, and that person who did the murdering was no longer in trouble in the afterlife. And so he was really upset that he worked hard and he did all the things right, but this other guy murdered somebody and he gets off free. So he's like, it's my right to be upset about this. And like, you just don't have to be. Just don't be upset and you can go free. And he's like, no. Like, no, just don't be upset. And like, it was like a super interesting book about like, man, like what do I do that's weird like that?
Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know. It was a very interesting book. It's like a super strange book too.
What was
It's
that called
really,
again?
really strange. The Great Divorce.
The Great Divorce. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I loved that book. I've read it like 4 or 5 times. I found that book to be really, really interesting. What's the video game that I couldn't stop? Sorry, can I read chat or am I not allowed to read chat?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm trying to read chat and
Okay.
look like I'm paying attention at the same time. We just take a moment to read
so you
chat
take
for a
the notes.
second. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. What was the video game that I couldn't stop going back to? One of the video games I probably played the most of throughout my entire lifetime. There's like 3 video games that I think are very very, very consequential to me. One will be consequential, but in a shorter term, just due to the age we're in. So the shortest one would be Elden Ring. It's a game that if I could play a game, I'd play right now. I just absolutely love it. The next game would be Ocarina of Time. I've beaten it with 3 out of 4 kids. And my youngest is getting ready to be at the age. She's a little bit like, let me do it, too independent to be able to play along. And so I'm kind of waiting for her to grow up a little bit more, and then we're going to beat through Ocarina of Time. So I'll have beat Ocarina of Time with all 4 kids. I just think that it's just such a fun game. So that's like a game that was really special to me. Absolutely loved it. So I want to do that. Ocarina of Time is literally the best. It's genuinely like the best game. And then the last one's kind of a toss-up between like StarCraft. I've gone back to that a lot. Like RTSs in general, I only enjoyed RTSs because I could play with my friends. Right? So RTS is kind of it's a unique thing. So I'm going to be staying over at my friend JJ Prumprum's house here in 2 weeks, and we're probably going to play Age of Empires deep into the night. And so it's not really that there's a particular like StarCraft I don't love more than Age of Empires. I just love the idea of RTSs. Like I think it's just a super fun concept, and I wish I was Korean enough to be able to play them well. I'm just not. Like I'll never be that guy. Like I watch these people play and I'm like, dude, how How do they control Terran like this? Like this is a skill I don't have. Like I was not born with this. I could never be this person. I recognize my weaknesses and it is not micro. Or it is micro. Micro is not it and macro is not it. Like I have too much ADD. I don't know what's wrong with me. Holy cow. And so that's different. But I think the last game I really, really, really love that I've gone back to a bunch of times is Battletoads. I could probably still get to level 8 or 9 right now. Like right now.
Battletoads.
Yeah, I like it. It's a great game. It's one of the smoothest games to play. Like to this day, it's so smooth.
I only know of Battletoads from the old 4chan meme of calling the local GameStop and asking if they have Battletoads. And then they get mad at you.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I just own Battletoads and I played it a bunch.
Oh, it's just really a video game you like. You have it's not been tainted by the history of.
I literally have been on 4chan once because someone made a post about me and I read the comments and I was like, wow, I have never been called so many racial slurs in my entire lifetime being on 4chan. And I realized that
it's not a good website.
I think I'm just too. I know you've visited 4chan and you've talked about how wild it is.
Again, I don't recommend it. It's just wild, not good.
It's not good wild. It's wild like as in somebody let the animals out of the zoo wild. And it's like there's part of you that just wants to watch it happen. Right? You're just like, shit, there's a lion out. What's happened? I gotta watch this, right? Like it's wild on there.
It's like watching a car crash in slow motion.
It is. It truly is the car crash of slow motion. And so I was just like watching what the people were saying to me. I'm like, this is crazy. They're crazy, man. This is crazy talk. And so that was the only time. And that's also where I learned that I shouldn't read things about me. Because when I go on like Reddit, you get a little sad. If you take the time to read what people want to say about you, you realize you don't want to. So I actually like have to turn off like comments for me to look at. I don't want to look at it. So I just never go on Reddit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Freight_dev says, who is your favorite streamer that programs? Now, I'll say my favorite streamer that programs is, of course, Primeagen. Primeagen, who is your favorite streamer that programs?
Damn, Nate. I think we all know who it is. Okay? If we're going to be real here. If we're going to be absolutely real, I think you know exactly who my favorite streamer is. That programs, of course, that is Tej. Let's go, Tej. Let's go.
No! That's bullshit. Fuck.
It's bullshit what just happened.
My favorites. You know what? I like Pirate Software better anyway.
Man, the problem is like a real talk. Right now, I think there's never been a better time for our category. There are so many good streamers. Like really, there are so many good streamers. Is Primeagen part of the Primeagen's army? That is a furry you're trying to get me to fall into. No, okay. First off, we're the Degen Legion. But real talk. There's a lot of good. Like the problem is I don't want to list off names because I know once I list off names,
you'll forget someone and someone's going to be mad.
Dude, people are going to get their feels hurt every single time. But there's like so many good. Like I just discovered Trash Puppy. She's like great. I'm like, holy cow, this is a great it's unbelievable how many good streamers there are. I'm shocked by how many there are.
All right, so before we go, I just got to know, what's next for Primeagen? I saw you were teasing that maybe you would consider quitting everything else and stream full-time. I don't know. There's rumors going out there. A lot of people are saying, smart people.
Do you see this?
Is that your pirate coin?
That is.
I need to start making challenge coins, but that's neither here nor there. So
I don't know if you can see it here. Let me enhance. You enhance
the wrong way. There you go.
Hold on, it's OBS. You can't like enhance easily. Enhance.
Like 6 layers of OBS going on. Oh, sorry, I have you cropped a little bit on my, and I'm not gonna. You know what?
Oh yeah, put me in there. Put it in there. Come on.
No, I don't have a mouse here. I can't. There we go. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, don't worry. I moved my hand over. All right, so this coin he gave me. It happened one evening. He's told the story, but it means a lot to me in the sense that science and dev is a really difficult category. I think for streaming, I think it's actually more difficult than any other category to stream in. I think music is probably the next most difficult category or equally difficult category. And the reason why I say that is that when you want to collaborate with somebody, it's virtually impossible. What we're doing is pretty much the only way you can collaborate. Just like music, the only way you can collaborate is you have to be in person, right? You know how hard it would be to try to set up some sort of OBS. Like, there's just no way you could try to make music together at the same time. I just don't see how that's physically possible. You'd have to have some like really crazy software to be able to align two different signals, for that to happen. And so how when Thor gave this to me, for me, what was really important about that here, let me unzoom in. I'm going to unzoom in. What was really
Zoom out.
important about that,
Dehance.
dehance, we're dehancing people. Oh crap. I just lost it. Oh my goodness, I just lost it.
All right, guys. Well, Prime's
Okay,
dead. Oh, never mind. Oh,
wait, we're coming back. OBS, it can also be
There we
such a
go.
piece of crap. It can just also be such a piece of crap. So it's like an amazing piece of software that they've made, but it can also be just such a crappy one. Hold on, how bad am I now in this one? Look at I'm like freaking Hulk in here.
Well, see, this is the problem. Is I have my frame all framed up and your frame, and it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm back in the center. But like when he gave this coin to me, he just said you should do this. And one thing I've been realizing about Netflix is I absolutely love working at Netflix. I've had an amazing time working there. I've worked there for many years and I built lots of cool things. Like one of the last pieces that I thought was just such a cool experience to build was called the Reggie, where I built a simulator to simulate packet for real-time video. And so I could simulate based on all sorts of different stuff to really create and test the system in a unique way and be able to report out bugs, and it could play really, really fast. So it could play like 13 to 20x the speed of reality while going through our entire real-time system. So it'd call every single thing from receiving a packet in JavaScript all the way through to handing it off to the television, right? So it could play at like super high speeds, and it could even play and actually render video at the fastest you could render video, or it could do just the packets and actually would go to a sync API that wasn't real. And so we could see like if we overloaded the system, would we start dropping frames? How would you handle dropping frames? How would audio recover if we dropped frames? All that kind of stuff, like all the complexities that come with real video or a live video. And like that was the last kind of great thing I've done. Since then, I've done just like a bunch of stuff with games, with a bunch of stuff with testing and infrastructure and all that. And I just realized that there's part of me that's just kind of stagnating. You'd be at a big enough company for long enough, you just kind of quit getting challenged. You kind of quit getting all the things you really, really need out of life. And when Pirate Software handed me this coin, it really, I call him Pirate Software just so people know how to follow him. But Thor handed me this coin. It just reminded me that there's a part of me that moved across the states from Montana to California while my wife was 36 weeks pregnant to give Netflix a shot. And that same person doesn't quite exist anymore because I'm super comfortable. And just maybe, you don't always want to take the easiest route. And so I've just been thinking about it a lot. That maybe it's better to risk something, not to be happy, right? Like, I don't think you should pursue your happiness at all costs. But you want to risk something because you are wanting to be able to you want to be able to live not in comfort, but with the excitement of what you do. I want to be able to say that what I did is meaningful and impactful, and it's not always meaningful or impactful, making something more reliable internally for testing infrastructure of a specific team on a specific thing. It's great. It's amazing work, and I get to do that, and I'm very happy about that. I'm extremely blessed. I have 10 plus years at Netflix. But that's just what's been rolling around in my head, and that's what this coin really represents, which is risk shouldn't be avoided. You shouldn't be stupid with risk, but you shouldn't be risk adverse. Where's the place you want to be? And so I just keep coming back and thinking about that. I haven't quit Netflix or anything, but I keep thinking about it over and over again. And that's why I set it right next to my computer. So while I sit there and while I program, Every now and then I'll see it. It's an Ebenezer, if you will, right? An Ebenezer is back like, thousands of years ago, people would throw stones into a pile to remember a specific event because you can't easily move a bunch of stones. So there'd be like this erection of stones. I use erection in the proper sense. There'd be an erection of stones that are very, very high. So people would just see it and go, that's the time we defeated this army, right? It was just a thing for you to remember what you did. And so I'm using it in that kind of sense to just remember that maybe you should take a chance.
Okay.
I haven't made any final decisions.
Fair enough. Well, Prime, I know you got to get out of here. Thank you so much for coming on. This will be available on iTunes if you listen to your podcast there. If you want to listen back, the Nate Hates Boring People podcast. We're coming back, people. Again, yeah. Thanks, Prime, for coming on. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say before you leave?
I think I said everything.
Left it all out there left it out there. All right, perfect. Well, thank you. And anybody out there, feel free to make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be back here, Tuesday through Friday every day doing programming content. Otherwise, Mondays is the podcast. This is the first of the restarting of my podcast. Next week I'll have another streamer on. Next week I got Spiro on.
Oh, nice, good moves. Don't forget to get. There's a lot. I think you should get a lot of people on.
Yeah, I've been reaching out to a bunch of people. Only some of them have been responding.
Yeah, it's the Arch Linux problem when you really think.
It's really the Arch Linux thing. Anyway, I'll tell you who I really want to get. There's a guy out of California. He's like a professor of physics and mathematics. He makes Klein bottles and sends them to people in the mail. He's been doing this for years and years and years. His website looks like utter dog crap from like 2002. And he makes Klein bottles, awesome. And he seems really cool. I want to reach out to the Klein bottle guy and get him on the podcast. Because it's not just about programming. Amazing. It's about Nate. I hate boring people. So anyone that's not boring is allowed to come on. I want to get the Klein bottle guy.
Was I boring? I'm kind of a boring fellow. Like when you really think about it, there's not.
You were the opposite of boring.
I don't know about that.
All right, maybe not the opposite, really but you weren't boring. You certainly weren't boring. No hate here.
No hate, Nate?
No hate, Nate.
All right.
Anyway, I know you got to get going. Thank you. Everyone, the store is up.
For that evening? Or are you going to keep on going?
I was going to wait for you to leave, and then I was going to just really hit everyone with every plug. I'm talking my web store. I got a Shopify up. I'm talking my homepage. I'm talking my blog. Prime, you know about my blog.
Sort of. Why don't you send me a blog post? I'll react to it.
You know what? Maybe I will. You already reacted to one, and that's really what got me started. I got over 800 stars on GitHub on that blog because of you, and I thank you so much for that.
I remember, but I can't remember what it was. I just remember reacting to one of yours.
It was how to get into programming, and then the first one was Arch Linux, and you went, I don't know about that, and then you read the rest of it, and you went, okay, I get it.
Yeah, no, I remember that. That was actually a really good post. I don't know if you give yourself enough credit for that one. It was really good. It was really thoughtful. I think a lot of people, they want the fastest route from A to B, and sometimes the fastest route from A to B is not a straight line.
Absolutely. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. npmail.com. I didn't actually think of how I was going to end this. I set up a new screen.
Yeah, he doesn't shut up about it. Do you
podcast.
Really brag about that? Are you trying to say that you're like, that was the greatest article that
here's what happens. Here's what happens. People say things. I say things. We get going back and forth. You end up in one of these pissing contests every once in a while. I go, well, I have 800 stars on GitHub. They go, no, you don't. And I go, check out my blog. And they go, oh, yeah, I saw this. Prime reviewed you. You're a piece of shit, Nate. And I go, guilty as charged.
There's a quote, but sorry, I almost went and said it, and then I stopped myself. That's why I made that sound. There's this quote by, do you know the Transplants?
No.
During my meth times, I used to listen to them a lot. The Transplants. They make that one song for Garnier Fructis is like that. Once you heard it, you'd probably recognize at least the piano intro. But they say this special phrase, and I think it's the best one, which is, fuck them motherfucking backstabbing cunts. Okay, so that's what I say about that. If they come at you like that, Nate, you know what I say? I say that, okay? You're a good guy, Nate. Don't let them get you down.
Appreciate it, Prime. And on that note, I have wait. Oh, where's my? Oh, I switched to a totally new setup for this, more relaxed. Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
everyone
You
for
nailed
showing
it.
up. Thanks Prime for coming on. Checking all my stuff. I will see you next time.